try and refresh that here. You're watching the Old Tube Radio Network here. All right, speaking about working, what about this thing?
Yes, sir. Is this thing working any better now? Hello? Still ain't doing it, huh? Yeah, well.
All right, I hear you fine.
You hear me okay, Dennis?
I hear you.
Do I sound like normal?
S9, actually you do.
Okay, that runs from the antenna straight to the radio. Okay, I'm gonna try something else.
All right, what are you trying to do?
Well, they say I'm not working good.
Well, let's see. You are, add the S meter. You're at S9. I hear your audio. I don't know, how does that compare, if people are listening to the audio stream, how does it compare between the audio stream and your radio? Because it's about the same distance here.
Dennis, them there's all saying my cover's just talking just off the coax, not the antenna.
Now, your signal's okay. I don't know about your audio, though.
So is the audio up, down, low, what? Let me see. Hello, 1, 2.
It seems to be, what do they say, at a nominal level.
Okay, let me see here. All right, I want to try to hook everything back up and see what happens.
All right, I'll catch you in a little bit here. We'll get the roll call and all the affiliated items.
Okay.
Check 40 and I'll be in and out here.
Okay, will do.
Thank you.
All right, I think the video is up. Looks like the stream is up. The audio is kind of good, and it's kind of a wacky. You know, it's when the barometer drops low. The barometer is very low because the jet stream has sort of descended into Oregon and Utah, and I looked at the weather map. Salt Lake City was getting hammered, and so we're getting what we normally don't see at this time is a little edge of the Gulf Stream flow pulling in some very low cold air and low barometric temperatures. So maybe that's just the wackiness of a low barometric pressure in your radio room. You want to say this is the Old Tube Radio Network? And this is the first week of our new 8-week roster, so I will be, or out of necessity, I will be looking for a new 00. There's nothing wrong with the one we had. Phil did great in checking in 8 in a row. In fact, I think he's in the little drawing here to possibly do it again. But let's get that started first, because I can't get the roll call started without 00. So the magic. Let's see, do we have the close-up cam? The magic hopper here put together by Bozo Control, courtesy of M&M's, yeah. And we'll see. We grab one of the items of interest out of here. Need one of those big spinning things with the door on it. That would help. All right, I think I've got one. I've got one here. Got one here. It is SWL. There it is. SWL 49. Brian, Computer Man, will be our new and improved, at least new anyway, our new 00. I think I heard, and I thought I heard him out there earlier. Hello, Brian, over.
Hello, Dennis. Very awesome. Good deal.
All right, I'm going to pencil you in here. I have the pencil. So we've got SWL 49. All right, I'm going to put the X in the square. Those playing the home game should be looking at 9/28/2019. A reminder that the glow-in-the-dark radios will be coming up after the roll call hopefully some of yours and some of your favorites. And we'll say hello to those who are listening on the Universal Media Netweb in just a moment, but want to get the roll call going. 00 is in. And if I get to the right page, you will see your official check-in across the screen at oldtuberadio.net. SWL1 is in. The prankster that he is. SWL2 heading over to the video stream. OBP. Hello, Kevin. How are you doing for radios, antennas, and getting things up in the air? I'm hoping that you are having a chance to, even though we got 0 sunspots, to get some items of interest ready in the radio room there. OBP giving us the report that things are still a little bit weak in cycle 25, but that is certainly going to change. I guess we have some type of a solar storm that could be making things a little bit strange. And if you want to say hi to Kevin, go over to click on the video link, and he'll be there for a while. As is Smarty Jones out of New York, and Private Thor out of 111, our BC stations. If the band opens up, it's been open to South America here from Central California. I heard the Mexico City beacon, and then a few stations have been talking to Brazil, South America, Cuba, that area. So we'll see if things open back up. Heading to SWL3, SWL4.
Quickie break, Dennis.
Yeah, go ahead, over.
Doggone it, what channel are we on?
27085, and that's called Channel 11.
Okay, something's happening over here. I'm on 270750.
Well, if you have a very wide, I can do that. If I take off my AM filter, my receive gets 20 kilohertz wide, and I can go to 075 and hear everything. But I don't know, check filtering or turn your radio off and turn it back on again. do the reset.
I'll do that.
All right, SWL5. Then again, maybe my transmitter is off. No, this transmitter definitely would not be off. SWL5, we have a check-in for Ida Mama Rose earlier in the week. SWL6. SWL7.
SWL7, and yes, having fun twisting the wire in a different configuration.
It's amazing when your RF output can do the math, figure out what part of the wire it's supposed to come out.
Yeah, in a folded dipole configuration, it works pretty good.
Yeah, you just got to make it happy enough, or make it happy so the radio's happy, and then you will have happy contacts. We've got you checked in, and you are sounding good, over.
Oh, thank you very much. We'll be putting some tubes in to warm up.
That is a good thing, since this is indeed the Old Tube Radio Network here in Central California. Doing about, 35 years on the air here, checking in the classic tube radios. And we'll do that tonight. We move on up. We reconfigured the list, so there are actually some open numbers if people would like to get in here tonight. It takes us up to, I want to mention one of those sad items. SWL12, Mr. ALE Jim, passed away early this week. And Mr. Jim on the northeast side, I think, holds the record on the Old Tube Radio Network for checking in not one, not two, but three separate Courier Royales back to back in the matter of about 60 seconds. I think that's well before we started audio streaming, or else I would have a replay of that. But definitely going to miss Jim, who's also a member of the Fresno Amateur Radio Club, the secretary there, and did a lot of other things as well. So that takes us up to SWL 13. Michael sometimes checks in at oldtuberadio.net. SWL 14. I'm checking my power. Okay, maybe it's just some bad SWRs. I'm showing them putting out a little more power than normal tonight. Don't want to blow things up. How about SWL 15? Also, as you can hear, the band is noisy, or at least on my end. I've got a new noise that Noise Blanker's having trouble getting rid of that's constantly 24 hours a day. I'm going to have to track down, and just your basic QRN. Probably because of all the wind that is happening out here, so I'll decrease the RF gain a little bit so it won't drive all the SWLs nuts. SWL 16. SWL 17. Shortwave listener 18. I've got a proxy check in for Mikey off of Facebook. Then we skip over to SWL 20.
Now, that sounded kind of unusual. Number 20 here. Check in 29 and 54, 84, and the family. Oh, and 135. I heard from him today via the telephone, and he said check him in. So that, and then proxy me in for next week and all of my other check-ins.
All right, for next week, and you'll be out and about, no doubt. You sound good tonight, of course, at the secret base location. And I wrote somewhere, if I can see it and find it, the other check-ins for necessary proxiness. All right, sounding good. Hopefully it is cool enough and you're feeling chipper enough to be out in the radio room with us tonight a little bit.
Well, it's actually warmer in here than it was out. Well, it's cool, pretty cool outside, so it should cool down here really quick. So I'll probably be back out. Okay, take care, and we'll catch you after a while.
All right, we'll be around as we go in search of the famous glow-in-the-dark radios. I think JT SWL 21 got a couple tonight as he was on. Trying to remember. I'm trying to bring it up on. What were you on tonight? The Courier? I've got you somewhere. Okay, maybe it's this one. See, when you go away, when you stop broadcasting, it goes back to videos from long ago. See, that's going back to 9/21, so I don't know what happened. I know tonight you had the negative preamp. Okay, if for some reason it's not bringing up tonight's program there, JT, but I think I heard you talk and skip as well. Also, please play a snippet from Fat Chance and the Losers, the mega hit, that 45. Yeah, thanks for noticing, 21. That great hit from long ago about those two tragic Fresno clowns. All right, I hope the ground rod is working good for tonight. It sounded good. Certainly sounded good tonight on Old Radio Night. Next, we have, and I don't know if he's even out there, SWL 22, that's Mark out of East Texas. New on the list, but certainly not new to the old tube radios. He just refurbed a Browning Mark III. Also is one of those guys that can do 100 watts in a wire on the other frequencies. So if you're listening, Mark, or watching the video, we got you checked in on SWL 22. Give us a shout out on the comment page, and I will keep an eye out to make sure that I am looking for all of those. Sometimes I have to scroll up and down to make sure I see everybody. Who is next? SWL 23.
Comment?
Comment, go ahead, over.
JT was on a Sonar FS-23.
Thank you. It was the Sonar. It was that is correct. The FS-23. I had it on, I was watching it, and for some reason the replay's coming back with last week's item of interest. So we might get a Sonar or check-in or two tonight. That's what I like about JT. He mixes them up from the classic mid-70s radios to the classic 60s radios. We always get a good shot of what he's talking on. Thanks for reminding me of what what I couldn't remember from an hour ago. Next is SWL-24. SWL-25.
Hello, Dennis 25, checking in.
All right, I can tell you are warming up a tube radio. We'll get through the roll call here and hopefully check in before the antennas blow down. All right. He gave it away to anybody that knows the Tweety Bird. Over to page 2. And let's see, I want to, before we start at page 2, let me refresh and see who's out there. Fish Camp Fresno, New York. Where is M.A.R. Moricador? Let me see who that is. That is somebody new, I think. Sometimes. Oh, you know what? That might be Gerard. It usually shows up out of Rockhampton. That's you, Gerard. You're showing up as a different thing here tonight. Give us a shout out on the page if that is you. South Carolina, Somerville, of course, Woodland Park, Colorado. Always listening in. Fayetteville, North Carolina, coming up to you. Hello, Littleton, Colorado. Some stations listening out in Bryant, Centerville, Virginia. We have a Centerville not too far here from Fresno. Tulare, Dallas, Georgia. Thank you. Hagerstown, Maryland. Been listening in for a long time. Canby, Oregon. One of our Oregon stations. Got a big group up there, like Eugene, Medford, up in that area. Listen in. Hello to Kerman, Florence, Kentucky. Our British Columbia stations. And we'll get to some more, but let me get started out with SWL-27. And everybody's listening on the crossband because I still am not. So if anybody's got the 655 tuned in, I'll grab any and all check-ins from there. Got a proxy check-in for SWL-29. Then we have SWL-31. Did I see Hendersonville? Not in yet. Hopefully they're not having wacky weather. You know who's getting hammered is probably Mr. Bill coming up. I saw big clouds over Cheyenne. SWL-32. SWL-33, myself, and Baker Oscar Zulu Oscar, the control people. And, I was supposed to start off with the Jingle Singers, but things were kind of wackier, so maybe we'll do that out of the page change. But I am checking in everybody. Over to SWL-35. Let me see if Mr. Bill is even able to get the radio going with all the wacky. There he is from Cool. Cool. Bill, if you're listening, I was seeing just all sorts of bad weather circling around Cheyenne. So I hope all is well over there. Might be getting some snow, but he's up and at him at the radio. It's going to take a lot. Bill's a pro at this. It's going to take a lot of inclement weather to get him to hang up the antenna for a while. But he does know how to be safe. Thanks, Mr. Bill, for checking in. Over to SWL-36. SWL-37.
SWL-37, and Dennis, does it sound any better right now?
Sounds good. You are S9 with peaks up at 5 over 9, which I think is a typical signal from you, and the audio. I've got the Orban meter up. Let's see if you get below or above a -20, you're probably okay. Say a few words.
If I get above what? All right, but whatever you said there, I got lost. Over.
All right, I'm just looking at your audio on the Orban meter, and you're about -18 or so. So that's okay. If we were down like at 24 or something, I would say maybe you want to kick it up. I think you're, at least on this end, for my peanut whistle thing here, you're sounding good.
Okay, well, I don't know what I did, but I changed coax around and everything in here. But you know, I always tell you, I've always got a low meter thing. You know, it helps have to have to use the preamp. I'm not having to use preamp tonight at all. You're coming in here 20 over, and if I hit the preamp on, you're 45 over.
Oh, all right. Well, that's the preamp is doing what it should do. Usually gives you another 10 or 20 dB. So, hooray for that! All right, you sound good to me, and I'm gonna check you in.
Thank you, Dennis.
And you are checked in. Let's head over to SWL 39. SWL 40, who is working on some antennas. I hope he stays safe and we'll get some information about what he's doing and how well it's working. Over to SWL 42. SWL 43. SWL 44. And I think, are the Bulldogs playing tonight? I think everybody's hiding from the wind here. We do have the tube radios coming up, so don't go away. Take a little longer on the roll call because this is our first week of the new roster, and I'm just trying to make sure I don't miss everybody. SWL 45.
45. Looks like you got a little wind going up there behind you. 45 check it in.
Yeah, just let me check the video. You can see I changed the flora and fauna is moving around here, boy, and I also have some white balance issues. Let me do something. If you see me going green, that's probably why. Even the video's not even working well tonight. What else we got? 45, and then that's Paul up in North Fork. Sounding good, Paul. Hope all is well up there. No big branches blown off the pine trees up there. SWL 46. SWL 47.
Hey, greetings from the Radio Lounge, SWL 47.
Hope all is well in the Radio Lounge. Good to hear you on the air. And also, sounds like you're warming up our radio for our listening, dining, dancing, and tube radio enjoyment.
Yeah, you know, that's funny you say that. Yeah, I'm just, the radio is warming up. I just got back not too long ago from a dance band gig. So, yeah, there's no dancing here, but there was earlier.
All right, well, damn it all. I hope it went all well. Got you checked in. SWL 48. I am listening because sometimes I'll hear Sam over the airwaves out of Madera. Sometimes he will be at oldtuberadio.net. Good way to check in if we can't hear you or you're one of our digital shortwave listeners. SWL 49, getting us started off tonight as 00, and the bonus check-in at us as SWL 49.
Hello again, Dennis. Hello to the SWLs out there, 49 checking in. Hey, you'll have to forgive me about when you called me for 00. I was sitting back here reading and heard that I was 00 and couldn't hardly believe it. I think that's the first time I pulled that off, and I think close to 20 years I've been checking in here, so that's pretty cool. So thanks again, and thank you for the check-in. You guys all have a super fun one.
All right. Yeah, we pulled it out of the jar here. I think we actually have video. That's the first time I think I've had a video of. Everybody says, you don't actually do that, do you? Say, yeah. They make the little tags up, and they bring them in here and say, you must pull one of the tags out. So I do. For those with perfect attendance from the last 8 weeks. 00, the history of 00 goes way, way, way back. And I'm not exactly sure how that happened. I think when we were printing up the lists a long time ago, see, we used to handwrite these, so I don't know how 0 got in there. But originally, I believe 00 was reserved for the commissioner of the FCC, who, wink, wink, nod, nod, would check in occasionally via a phone patch. This is back in the early days of OTR, probably in the mid to late 1980s, early 1990s. commissioner of the FCC would check in as 00 and give us the latest on what was going on. And then I think we lost our phone patch, or the FCC told us to cease and desist. I don't remember. But anyway, we're glad that our shortwave listeners will help us out in filling that role at 00. And it's like it was the drum major who starts the parade, at the front of the parade with the baton. That's basically what 00 does for us. Next, we've got SWL 50.
50 here.
50 here, 50 there, 50 everywhere. I've got you checked in. Mark, over. SWL 51.
SWL 51 checking in.
51 is checking in. How is the wind out in your neck of the woods?
It's pretty windy out here. I was surprised how windy it was. I just went out a little while ago to check the dogs, and we got a strong breeze out there right now.
Yeah, check the dogs, the antennas. As Joe said, the potted plants. I have one that tends to blow over, but I have it secured, so it did not do that this time. Thanks for checking in. SWL 52. Shortwave listener 53.
Hello, Dennis. 53 checking in.
53 checking in and checked in. I'll go over to page 4 and take a moment out to say hello to who's coming. Hello, the Friar Tuck out there in Nottingham. Sorry, he's not been on the past few weeks. Well, considering that it is, 4 in the morning there? It is very early. Wayne is out in the UK. We're always glad when he turns on the whatever device it is that tunes in the old Tube Radio Network and gives us a shout here into Central California. Also, Roy from Littleton is beaconing in at oldtuberadio.net. Hello, Roy. And the Bob and Steve show, who's always so nice to the jingle singers. I think that's the reason they keep coming back. Bob is flying the jet. They just left the jingle singers. I never see you guys. You always sneak in. Cincinnati's best. Montgomery Inn ribs. Is it Graters ice cream? It's in the green room. So those of you tonight checking in, when you go into the green room, make sure you pick up some of the ribs and the ice cream, courtesy of Bob and Steve out there in Ohio, in the private jet. And Larry's working with antennas tonight. Ed is doing antennas, and they're hanging out the jet and putting up the 11-meter dipole hanging off one of the wings, 27085. I hope you can hear us. You have a great antenna. So you're probably hearing everybody on Channel 11 tonight. Hopefully we're beaconing through. Of course, we said hello to Albert and the crew from Squamish, British Columbia, 256, 428, 111. And a host of others coming up here on the Old Tube Radio Network. There's Larry. Cause is in listening tonight. Not sure where you're listening from, but tune us in, 27085. Point the beam. Point the beam west, probably. You might hear us. All right, let's continue on with the roll call, page 4. Of course, SWL 54. We will hear some of his handiwork tonight, no doubt, as some of our tube radios check in. Let's go up the hill to SWL 55.
55 checking in.
All right, did you have to lower the antenna to keep the snow off?
No, it is snowing though, on and off. It's pretty cold.
Yeah, they're getting it in the higher elevations. Anybody that's going to be driving over the summit, Donner Pass, is probably going to be in for some trouble tonight or tomorrow. Sounding good, sir. Thanks for checking in.
Thanks, Dennis. That's where I'm at, in the high country. Talk to you later.
All right, still putting a good signal. Putting a good signal here tonight. Eminem knows. He knows. It's like when you're working video, if you can see the lens can see you. So Eminem always makes sure that he's beaconing somewhere on a hill where he can see the Old Tube Radio Network antenna. Here's the guy that carried us through for the last 8 weeks as 00 and did a great job. SWL 56.
Good evening, Dennis and the net. 56, just for kicks.
And we will have a few tonight. Maybe I'll get kicked out of here. You're sounding good, sir. Go to SWL 58.
58, checking in. Thank you, Dennis. And if I may, I want to proxy in my ditch bank neighbor there. He's currently vacationing in his beach house this weekend, and I guess they got pretty strict HOAs, and they won't let him put his antenna quite high enough. But that's the story there. Thanks, Dennis.
Yeah, CC&Rs, we're not talking about credence, and HOAs sometimes force us, armature radio people and CB-type people, 11-meter people, to go stealth, whether it's the attic antenna or the wink-wink, nod-nod flagpole antenna. Or what's the other one? I did one once. I went somewhere and there was no antennas, and I had my mobile spider antenna multiple coils, so I just ran coax from the car inside and did it that way. So hopefully he will. He's having a good time. We'll be back. We'll get him checked in, and also yourself checked in as well. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you, sir.
SWL 59. Now here's a guy that never has to be stealth. He can just get out there and put his antenna wherever he wants. SWL 60.
Yeah, I wish that was for real there. Hey, the Bulldogs are doing good. I think they're happy at this point. They're in the fourth quarter, 30-17 over New Mexico State. Hey, Dennis, checking in this on this 457, the Navajo. Check me in, please.
I will check you in. He's checking in on the Navajo 457. I have one over on the workbench. I pulled it out to see if it would work. It needs to be cleaned and checked, and I'm thinking I might be able to use it as a backup receiver. But I hope it works as well as yours does. And thanks for the update on the Fresno State Bulldogs. Any stations out there listening in New Mexico? It's okay. It's okay for you to root for your team here in Bulldog land, but just don't expect them to win. Thanks, Joe. Who is next? SWL 61.
61, checking in, Dennis.
SWL 61, Mr. Copenhagen Kid. Dean, you're sounding good, and you've got 1 out of 8.
Thank you, sir.
Beautiful downtown Clovis, SWL 62.
Evening time, Dennis. This is 62. Thinking back, I think the doctor had some kind of a formula, perfect check-ins or something like that you could get 00. Anyway, I had it 2 times over the years, long years ago.
Yeah, because you've been checking in pretty much from day one. We didn't start the SWLs right at the beginning. We just had so many listeners that we wanted to acknowledge them. And when we first started, we didn't have a roll call. It was sort of like a DX contest where Net Control would just hang out and people would shout at you to try and get checked in. And we realized, that is too much like a DX contest. So then we made it a little bit more formal with the roll call and the numbers and all of that. Before you go, Rex, do you remember the first? I don't know if you were licensed. You filled up the form and got a CB license. But do you remember the first year that you keyed up a CB radio?
I believe it was in the later 50s or early 60s, somewhere along in there. Probably about the middle 60s.
Okay, so you were weaned on the good old tube radios back when they were not old tube radios. You are sounding good from downtown Clovis, on time and on frequency. Thanks for checking in. Over. All right, Lucky Lindy. How about SWL 63? And I'll give a check-in for Bubba and all our stations listening in from the New York area tonight. Up there, right in the front row, as almost always, has a pipeline out there in Angola, and who is also beaconing in. Smarty Jones. That's probably who that is. Anyway, Hello to our stations in, let's see, Washington just checked in. Another Colorado station checked in. We are looking for SWL 64. And I know I'm taking longer on the roll call tonight. We'll extend the radio check-ins if we have to get as many of you checked in as possible. SWL 65?
65 checking in.
SWL 65, Eric at the microphonium with an X in the square. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good one.
SWL 66. Shortwave listener 67. Got a note to Proxy and Bill. I will do that. SWL 68. SWL 69. Got a note to Proxy and 69. Hello, Ken. Kenny, if you're listening live, or if you're watching the replay, we've got you checked in, and hopefully you'll get things worked out where you can also shout back at us either on the digital mode or however you can do it. We've got you checked in. Let's head over to the guy that checked me in on Wednesday, on the Wednesday night 10-meter net at 28,445, upper sideband SWL 70.
70 checking in.
All right, I'm returning your X in the square favor. And how was the wind blowing up there near Morgan Canyon?
It was beautiful. I got all my antennas down anyway, so it wasn't a big deal. But it was a beautiful fall day here.
As it was the last couple of days, if you get up early, or especially if you get up early or stay up late, there's been some great sunrises and sunsets because we've had a little bit of cloud cover, and it has really made things kind of nice after the 100-degree weather. So this is kind of a shock. It kind of came down really fast, but we're in that Gulf Stream low barometer dip, and I'm sure we'll be heading back up. So if you're working on your roof, you're hoping it doesn't rain. Thanks for checking in.
Hey, thank you, Dennis. Appreciate it.
Direct net roll call. Radios are coming up. Stick with us, please. SWL 71. Stan, who is out there putting X in the square. I don't know what hat he has on tonight. 71 right now. He might be turning into the Sierra Hotel whiskey in just moments. He can do that. Checking in. Am I working the California QSL party next weekend? Is it October? Next weekend. That's right. You know what? I don't know. I may not be by the radios for a lot. I bet I could do something on Saturday. Maybe that would be the impetus to get some type of antenna up somewhere. Heard some on 17 meters. Yeah, okay. And the mid-afternoon 20 meters has also been good. I heard some guys on 20 really loud calling to California. I don't know where they were, and that was on the Stardust or so. All right, I'm going to make a Post-it note here about California QSO party. I give people some points. Is that how it works? I think I give points, right? Because I'm in California. And I'll have to check to see what the contact is. If it's been a while since I've done it. If you need the county and the number of contact or something like that, that's fun. If that's a great fun if you're not a contester, that's a fun contest to get into. Is giving points out for the QSO party because people are looking for you. It's like you're in the DX. On the DX Island, except you're in Six Land. There's thousands of you. All right, Stan, we got you checked in, and I will see. We'll see. I bet we've got a couple of stations here locally that we'll get involved with that, and we will get a report from them. Next is SWL 72. SWL 73. I'm going to proxy in John. John is a longtime ham, and I bet he will be probably on CW, giving some California QSO contacts for sure. SWL 74, we've got Jilly checked in. SWL 75. SWL 77.
Good evening, Dennis, and 73s to all the listeners, and 77 on the Tower of Power in the Tower District. And boy, we got to make a nice contact into Brazil, Key West, and Austin, Texas today. So, yeah, I had a little bit of fun with the DX.
Yeah, it was there. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't hear anything. I heard the beacon coming in from just south of Mexico City. So we had the patience and the right equipment, as Dennis does. You're able to make some great contacts on just about any band, frequency, channel, wherever you wanted here today. And things will be getting better. Thanks for checking in. Then we have SWL, like the infamous Shellac Records, SWL 78. That is Richard out of Everett, Washington. I've seen a couple of Washington stations on the board. And usually Richard will lay the hand out there on the check-ins. I don't see him quite yet, so I'll put a pensive X. Here's the guy that's breaking my noise blanker, SWL 79. He must still be peeking and tweaking. I'll get Philip checked in. He was in there earlier. And SWL 80. Over to page 4. Let's continue on straight through. SWL 81.
Number 81. There we go. That's better. 81, checking in on frequency.
Yeah, check those wiggle meters and those glowing, blinking lights. You are definitely on frequency over.
Good deal. You got me to thinking. The first time I keyed up a CB radio was in 1967, and I remember it was very formal. You had to use your call letters, you had to be licensed, and everybody was very polite, and that's just the way it was back then.
I'm glad you said that. That is exactly correct. There might have been the occasional H&D going on, but what we recreate here, and I think it has to do with, one, it's an AM mode, it's kind of relaxed, and number two, we're using the old radios, the karma, the aura of the old radios just kind of makes you relax and puts you in that mood, that mode. And anybody who's been around this net for the last 35 years could say, well, he just described the old tube radio network, same way. So that's what we try to recreate here, is that sense of taking time out of the Saturday night after Red Skelton or Jackie Gleason or whatever you're doing on TV, and going into wherever the radio was and having a good time talking to some of your neighbors. It might have only been for 5 minutes because you had, the 5-minute rule going on, but that's what we do here. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you for the check-in. I was trying to remember what radio it was, just real quick. It was either a Lafayette or a Heath. But it was a big radio, put out a lot of heat, a lot of tubes. And thanks for the check-in. I'm not listening.
All right. Yeah, more than likely, it was probably a tube radio. There were some solid-state radios around at that time. I think my first 5-watt radio was actually a Midland walkie-talkie that was solid-state, and I bought it. I bought it at Whitefront. Yes, I did. And then I took it back because I was really disappointed that I wasn't able to talk to anybody on the walkie-talkie. I didn't have my antenna just right, but I had spent a lot of money. I don't know, whatever, it was $60 for, however, for a 15-year-old or whatever. And so I painstakingly just took it back and kept my money and saved it for something else. But you always, right? You always remember that first rig. Thanks, Steve. We are directing that roll call. The radios are coming up, I promise. Those tube radios that we're referring to. The great sound of old radios glowing in the dark coming your way. SWL 82, I've got to check in from the ditch banks, and maybe Ron is listening in on the. Are you watching us tonight, Ron, from the secret location? We got you checked in. How about SWL 84? I've got to check in for Jerry, and I'll pause just in case he's got something cooked up. Still recovering from lightning strike and some other things, and it's kind of windy, so it's probably best you don't mess with the antennas when it's like that. SWL 85 in Reedley. All right, hearing Reedley tonight. The wind is blowing the right way. John, if you can hear my peanut whistle station, you're sounding good here in the Old Tube Radio Network. Over. All right, it's been a good night. So far, so good. When you can hear Reedleytown. I know we're going to be cooking with some radios. 85 is checked in. Also, we're going to get 86, 87, and 88. That's the Mountain Maid, Tandy Girl, and the Snowy Owl, respectively. Also, SWL 89 from a Facebook check-in. That's Darren. SWL 90.
Break OTR.
And the break OTR, go ahead, over.
Yes, I'm on the mole tonight. I couldn't hear very well. Did you get 82 cross again?
I have proxied in 82 over.
Also, could you proxy in 58 if you did check in, and 55?
All right, 58 checked in live and direct, and 55 from his secret location also checked in. So we got them both. Thank you. Over.
Thank you. While I'm interrupting you, go ahead and check 114 here, too, from a mobile.
All right, we're coming right up to you, Wayne, so we will get you in as well. And thanks for the updates, and I think we've got 100% on everybody. Thanks.
I'll park here because I know I'm going the wrong direction. If I turn around, you probably won't hear me. Thank you for the check-in.
All right, you are S8, or as we say on the Old Tube Radio Network, 9 pounds, good modulation, chestnut and Herndon. Thanks for checking in. Over to SWL 92. SWL 93. SWL 98.
Checking in, Dennis.
SWL 98, that is Fresno Dave. Out there somewhere. Hopefully not blown away in the wind. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you, Dennis.
And who is that? Who is that sandbagging? It's 111. Hello, Gene. Thanks for listening in. You're on my screen over here and my screen over there. That's a true sandbagger. I have to kind of keep up with you. 98. SWL 103. Haven't heard Mr. Cheesy E in a while. I hope his mobile is working. SWL 109. Shortwave listener 110. SWL 111. Just listening as I heard Reedley check in. Bob is also out of Reedley. Just seeing if he had made a comment earlier. Oh, look who I missed Crazy Bob reading the mail. Bob, if you're listening, it might be kind of late for him. I don't know. Hanging out in one of the big time radio studios that he frequents from South Jersey. All right, Bob. I'm sorry I missed you. That was, how long ago was that? That was an hour ago. If you're watching the playback, we are definitely waving hand. Good to hear you out here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Let's go to SWL 113. And Bob, Crazy Bob, is an administrator for at least one of maybe a couple of some really interesting Facebook pages that deal with vintage, classic CB radios and the like. And always has some great comments and good posts and great information. So he has taught me a lot in the short time that I have been frequenting his the Facebook pages there, as well as a couple other stations. There's a lot of good information floating around out there if you're looking for modifications and information and antenna stuff and mic wiring and who knows what. And hopefully tonight we'll have a good time talking to the tube radios. SWL 114 just moments ago from the mobile, checking in not only himself but a bevy of shortwave listeners. Over to SWL 128, and in my mad scrolling up and down the screen, in North Virginia, checking in. A comfortable 70 degrees. It's nice. Usually when I look for the bad weather report in the evening, it comes from it comes from John. But he's outdoing us tonight, so good for you there, 128. I'm glad the weather is Looking good. Maybe it's antenna weather. Who knows? Next, we've got SWL 131. Northwest Fresno, SWL 133.
Good evening, Dennis. 133's checking in.
Another S8 signal over the noise. Sounding good. Thank you, Dave. We have a proxy check-in for SWL 135. Hello, Cliff, if you're listening. SWL 137. And Butterbean, still staying up late tonight out there in northeast Georgia. Thanks for waving a hand. He's over on the video side. Let me see. I can't wave a hand unless what do I have to do? I have to go over here. I have to go over here. And then, okay, I can say hi to northeast Georgia. SWL 145. And that is Tony. I heard him. I think he checked in. Yeah, he checked in on the 10-meter net, sounding really good with his amateur setup there on the 28-445. That's Wednesday evenings, 8 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time still. But if you are SWLing out there, especially in the Pacific Northwest, give a listen to 28-445 upper sideband on Wednesday evenings. See if you can hear the crew down here in Central California, and then we have a visitors portion where you can check in and say hello as well. Over to SWL 147, who I know is in. Oh my gosh, what's going on with Neil? It's 10:37 Eastern Standard Time, and the Jingle Singers are rehearsing on the air. That's right. I because of the change of the video, it has really changed what happens with the audio, and it throws me every time when I realize what I think I have set up isn't set up, so we have to do some on the air testing. No worries, it sounds great. But where do you fit the brass section into the studio? I don't know. They give me the little small room here, and they've got the big studio with the lighting and all that stuff. And I'm sure Neil's inquiring because he is also a musician himself. So may have to have him fill in if he's a sixth call. I think he frequents Sixth Land here occasionally. I have to have him come in and fill in for the Jingle Singers. Conditions fair at best. Spent time repairing my antenna connections. They were bad, out of sync. Oh, okay. SWR was through the roof and the power output about half. Finally got the thing squared away and all is well. And of course, the conditions dropped out about 8 p.m. But you are ready. He is ready for when they come back, and I think they will, or I know they will. All right, Neil, thanks for the update. Always enjoy that. X in the square. Jingle Singers have been quiet. We'll spend a little time. The two radios will be coming up here at the top of the hour. We've got a couple of things to do from the other studio. They're, you know what it is. It's all that great stuff that Bob and Steve, they don't even want to perform tonight. They just want to have a good time over there. Let's head up to the Course Gold for another station that's been checking in for a long, long time. SWL 195. And I wonder if he is having some wind conditions up there. We are listening for you, Jim. SWL 226. Anybody I missed? Anybody listening would like to check in? OTR listening. No numbers necessary. Also, 6520, drinking coffee at midnight, watching the Old Tube Radio Network in Charleston West. Charleston West, by God, Virginia. At midnight in the Old Tube Radio Network. All right, well, it's going to get better. Warm up some more coffee because we are going to be talking with those tube radios coming up. First, I'll take an old buzzard transmission. And what we'll do is we'll go to the big fanfare. They are ready. We've got the studio audiences in there, and this is what we should have played at the opening hour, and we will play it here at the top of the hour. Hopefully it comes through. I was on the air testing to try and get all these levels set, so they'll probably be a little weak. Probably be okay on the air. We'll see what happens. The Old Tube Radio Network.
You may not find us on your TV, because in case you did not know, we're being brought to you by OTR. Brought to you by
27.085 megahertz.
Brought to you by RADI.
The Old Tube Radio Network.
RADIO. Hopefully your glow-in-the-dark tube radio. The Old Tube Radio Network. You know, the other thing I have to do, I have to switch the audio stream. When we do the archives, I have two sections for the SWL check-ins and tube radio check-ins. So I'll take a pause. We'll switch the audio stream. If you're watching at oldtuberadio.net, you will see the 6L6 stop glowing. But just for a second, it'll come back, and then we'll grab the other jingle singers as they gather towards the ribbon microphone and your old tube radios, I promise. Video stream we don't have to do anything with. I keep it running straight through. All right, I think that worked. I think we're back. Hello to those who are back for the tube radio check-ins after this word from our local sponsor.
You may not find us.
Oh, we did those already.
TV, because in case you did not know, we're being brought to you by
OTR.
Brought to you by
27.085 megahertz.
Brought to you by RADI.
The Old Tube Radio Network.
You know, I'm blaming the Ohio guys for this because they're not paying attention over there, and all I have to drink is water. This is all I have to drink, and they've got the good stuff over there. All right, let's try it again. I hope they're paying attention. You're listening to the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? Greetings to you, wherever you are. For music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
The station for you is
OTR.
All right, I'm going to finally unkey the transmitter, and we are looking for radio number 1.
45.
And we've got radio number 1. Thanks, Paul, for standing by and being patient. But I think all is well now. SWL 45, Paul, is up in North Fork, which is 30 or 40 miles to the north and east of here, up in the foothills. And I can tell by the pictures of his Radio Shack that he probably has close to a ton of tube radios. And we are the beneficiaries of listening to those on Saturday evenings, and we're glad for it. Hello, Paul, at 9:03. What do you have on the radio shelf tonight? Over.
No, not a ton. A ton of them. I got enough of them, I'll tell you that for sure. I know we're guy in town got as many as I do, and probably more. I think you know who I'm talking about. You got the jingle stickers set just right. Congratulations on the second go around of the thing, Jen. Anyway, I want to check in my Brownie Golden Eagle Mark IV, Ruminono 4.
The Mark IV, let's see if I have some video. Silk screen faceplate. All right, let me start with that one there, silk screen faceplate. But I probably have some other ones. The Mark IV, of course, their official 40-channel transmitter receiver version. I'll get a better shot, but go ahead with a transmission on the Mark IV. I think you've got it set up sounding pretty good. Over.
Okay. Well, it's manufactured in 1977. This was the last radio 40-channel to boot that Brownie Eagle made that had any tubes in the thing. I don't think they did anything else. Even either the small mobiles, I don't think they did anything more to them. Yeah, that's a good picture of it right there. That's it. Okay. Yeah, this thing measures 31 inches long when you put it side by side. And the microphone I'm using on this thing is a Turner CS1 Custom Special Amplified Desk microphone.
Seems to like it. The meter swinging goes, so that makes me happy. Anyway, I know you can tell me a lot more about it, too. Go ahead, Dennis.
Browning Golden Eagle Mark IV. We might be starting off with our newest old radio and then working in reverse back down to the 60s. Looking for original price on that. $895 is what it said. That was around a $900 radio for 1977. And I often say this, you would have the decision whether you were going to buy that used Pinto for $900 or the brand new Golden Eagle Mark IV. Now, if you had bought the Pinto, you probably wouldn't have it here in 2019, assuming it didn't cause injury. And if you did, it would probably still only be worth $900. Whereas the Browning Mark IV, you might do a little bit better. Sounding good. You've got the audio set up really, really good. And I think if you listen to the archives back or watch the video, you will be pleased. We'll go back to you all, add the S meter so you can give yourself a radio report. And thanks for getting us started off here with the Browning Golden Eagle Mark IV for radio number 1. Over.
Yeah, I've tried to keep it down a little bit. You could do a lot of these things, rev it up a little higher. I hope just about right. But with a microphone, this is an adjustable microphone, so you can make it really scream. Can't overmodulate these good old tuners. So that's nice. Okay, you should make them sound bad. Anyway, this is a hybrid. It has 10 tubes in the receiver, 8 tubes in the transmitter, and the receiver has a turbo VFO. This is where the hybrid comes in. The transmitter has a phase lock loop circuit and an LED readout for the transmitter. And I'll tell you what, just very impressive radio. Got meters on this thing, and the knobs are just tremendous. It's not as pretty as the Mark III, but I think it's probably a more impressive radio. It's kind of a square. Everything's kind of square. Still got the on the air light on the left-hand side, large size, big meters on the thing. Just a super big old radio. Back to you.
Yeah, they did change it up from the Mark III, but they still kept the nice big speaker from the front. Like I said, the big meters, which was always nice to have, and color about the same. It has that golden. The Golden Eagle work. I don't think I wasn't as active in 1977, 78, 79 as I was in the early 70s, so I'm not even sure. It was a long time before I talked to somebody running a Mark IV. I didn't know anybody. I knew a lot of people that had the Mark IIs and the Mark IIIs, but I didn't know anybody that had a Mark IV. And, of course, now, on the Old Tube Radio Network, we get them not as often as we'd like, but they all sound good, and I know when people ask, what is your favorite radio? This is one of the ones that shows up in the top 5 usually, along with the other Brownings and the Trams and whatever. But the Mark IV is a favorite radio of many. At 9:03, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark IV from Paul. Give us another transmission, and thanks for starting us off.
Okay, this thing's solid on the ping and everything. It's about the same every time, which I like a whole lot. It's just, it's a classy radio. Thanks for checking it in, Dennis.
Yeah, it definitely has a nice and steady ping to it. The ones that sound the most Eagle screeching light, I think the R68, T68s always come in that way, and then the Mark IIIs and the Mark IIs are kind of however you put them together. But like you mentioned something, and I agree, it has a nice constant tone on the ping. You're listening to the Old Tube Radio Network. Hello to the mighty KUH, Brian, who is listening over on the video, watching the video page here. Also, 6520, I think we said hello to you. Don't know if anybody else has joined us on oldtuberadio.net, but you are listening to, watching the Old Tube Radio Network. We are here in Central California, Channel 11, and we do this on Saturday evenings, and we've been doing it for a long, long time, kind of hanging out and talking with our local vintage radio collectors who bring by their tube radios to share, and we're glad that they do. Joseph, I've got you, SWL24. I'll get you checked in, and we're listening for radio number 2.
Number 7.
All right, right, I've got number 7. Step on up at 9:09 into the radio chair, Mr. Ed. Don't take a transmission just yet. Who was the other station wanting to check in?
81, 75.
And 81. All right. Well, that worked out good because I know that Steve, they miss you over in the green room, and they probably saved you a plate of goodies. So Mr. Unicorn is going to head over there. He'll be radio number 3. And I want to make sure I get, where's my SWL check? I want to make 24. I'm going to get Joseph checked in. There you go. That's official. And then we want to say, hello, Mr. Ed. What have you got over?
Well, since you mentioned the R68 T68, I figured that's what we would bring by.
All right, we will go back to a few years from 1977, maybe the R68 T68, maybe about 9 or 10 years. And we'll also chop at least a couple $100 off the price. But it's still a Browning. It's still a Golden Eagle. I think the original, or the first Golden Eagle. And we'll say, take a transmission. And sounds good. Let's hear that ping. Over.
Oh, there you go. The R68 T68, the Golden Eagle Mark 9 with the Browning Golden Eagle microphone. Oh, no, this one has the banana mic. All right. The other one has the Golden Eagle. Yeah, good old banana mics, totally stock.
And for those who listen a lot, they often hear the truly stock radios come in and they sound very good, not needing any item of interest. Well, that matches my advertisement. Not exactly sure who it's from. Well, it's from Browning, but I mean what magazine it was out of. But it does show the microphone you're talking about. That's the supplied or could be supplied microphone with the Brownings. And the nice thing about that is the microphonium actually can be removed. The base is not affixed like a D104. The base is not affixed to the microphone. That makes probably things a lot lighter, and it makes it easier to orchestrate the ping, too, I think.
That it most assuredly does, yeah. Actually, it's a little bit easier to hold with it not in the stand, although it does work the other way around, too.
Yeah, on the, let's see, the push-to-talk is actually not on the stand. It is on, there's a little, for those not familiar with that style of mic, if you're looking at the picture, there is a slide lever on the front of the microphone. Okay, here's a question for someone like me who doesn't have one of those. The push-to-talk, well, it's not even push-to-talk, the slide-to-talk or flip-to-talk, whatever it is, does it lock? Do you have to hold your finger down on that, or is there a locking position on that?
No, there is no locking position. It is definitely push-to-talk, and as soon as you release, it pops back up.
At least you hope it does. I remember Dr. J, SWL1, had a box full of parts, bases, and grills, and the housings, and the switches. So I'm hoping that they don't fail on you or anything like that. But that one's not missing a beat.
Thankfully, because I do not have any spare parts, so if something like that were to break, I would probably cry.
And we wouldn't want that. We only want happy times on the old Tube Radio Network, and that's usually what we get. So your radio is not broken, that's for sure. Radio number 2, Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68. I got to complete my notes here. Doing a good job, sounding great. Let's see, I'll go to the control room S meter on the last bit here, so if you're watching the playback or whatever, you can give yourself a radio check. Thanks for bringing it in. Give us another transmission.
All right, thanks, Dennis. Always a.m. checking in my Brownings.
Absolutely. I think it's hard to do otherwise, especially probably goes for any old tube radio, even if you're a little bit off frequency or having to shout into the microphone to make the thing work. Stepping up into the air chair at 9:15. Here's a guy that's always happy, even when he's tossing an old tube radio at Woodward Park down the hill or whatever. Hello, Steve.
Good evening to you once again. Yeah, you're right. That was a lot of fun, those picnics. I put this radio in line some time ago, and it worked so good. I haven't touched it. I haven't had to retune it. There's no drifting. All the lights work. And it's a special radio, because you mentioned SWL number 1, Dr. J, and that's where I got this radio from. This is a General radio telephone, MC4, looking good, sounding good, and I just hope that it sounds as good on your end as the receive does on this end.
Sounding good here at the Old Tube Radio Network. There were a lot of General radio telephones working, not working, parts, pieces, over at the Dr. J QTH for sure. And you, and people like you, and of course Paul, keeping on the tradition of getting them checked in here at the Old Tube Radio Network. Speaking of Paul, we'll show the MC4 from the collection of Paul, but it's the standard master control series of the time, 1961, 1962. Be curious to know if you've got the waffle style microphone with that. And you can see it has a tunable 23-channel receiver. We'll go to the close-up here as we take another transmission on Radio 3. Over. We hope.
Audio. There we go. Well, I spoke too soon. I guess the microphone's a push-to-talk, and not a slide-to-talk, but a push-to-talk, maybe getting a little bit dirty. But yeah, it's got the original waffle-type chrome microphone. I believe it's a General number 28 microphone. And it's got the external crystal pocket in the front, and the tone alert. There's something, I'm not sure what this is. It's got AM, and then it's got switch the other way, and it's got single sideband, double sideband. So I'm not sure how you get both out of one position, but yeah, it goes AM sideband. It's got variable receive, VFO receive, crystal transmit, crystal receive, and I think that's about it. Good looking radio. It's got the rack handle. And something else I noticed on each side, on the top front corner, there's a keyhole shape, and I'm just wondering if that's where you're supposed to hang the microphone.
Could be because this radio, even though they had the VS series, the Vibration Service series, which was their mobile, the master control was the base, it was set up to grow, and from 1961, set up to go 6-volt DC, 12-volt DC if we had the proper cable, and then, of course, I think you're running it off 115-volt AC. 6 crystals is one socket that's down there at the bottom. The one we're showing, I don't see anything that says sideband. I wonder if you have a prototype or a modification on that. The tone signal is in. The tone signal was in that one. It was also in the MC5. It was not in the MC6. This one almost looks like it doesn't even have the right meter in it. The S meter is kind of interesting, but it did have an S meter. The original price in 1961 was $200. 6 crystals, and it had the full receive. Where is the control or the switch or whatever it was you were referring to that refers to the AM and sideband? Over.
It's between the volume control and the receive crystal selector. And I'm looking at it a little bit closer. It's got AM on the top position. Down at the bottom position, it says FFD, DSD, and then it's got an arrow going to the variable receive. So it's like this little plate was added on to the radio. It looks factory, but it looks like a factory add-on, some kind of modification. So it's got a circle there indicating variable speed. So you would turn the selector to that position for your variable speed. But it also, when you put the switch in the down position, that's when it says SSD and DSD. So I'm going to switch it here. Hopefully I won't lose you. And audio, I don't know if that made any difference or not. But I'm going to leave it switched until UPF, and I'll see if it sounds any different on this end.
Interesting. That switch originally would be a local distance switch, so it's probably some type of switchable RF gain. I'm wondering if someone had, whether it's a factory thing or a modification, someone had wired in, I'll call it a BFO, where it would put the beat frequency in to decipher the sideband. Since I'm running a carrier, if you go to the DSB, you're probably going to hear maybe not much difference depending on how the crystal is. And well, you know what? You have, that's right. It's got a variable receive tuning. So all you have to do is flip in the BFO and get your tone. All right, we're going to do something here. Are you, let me get back to you. Are you hearing any difference when you click it into the double sideband? You get a carrier, a tone?
When I switched over, it just sounded like the receive was way off frequency. It had that high pitch squeal. But I could still hear you in there, and it was still understandable audio.
Right. So what you do is when you flip the switch down and you hear the squeal, you're going to go over to your tunable receive dial, and then you're going to, I don't know how fine tuning it is, how graduated, whatever the right word is, and you would move that to minimize and get rid of the tone to 0 beat. I believe that's probably how you do it with that radio. All right, you'll be Radio 4. Stand by.
Audio, there we go. I didn't want to take a chance on turning that because it's really hard to turn. I may not get it back. But, yeah, I think you're right. That's exactly what it is. The more I look at it, I've never used it because I just tune the receive until I hear you. Although I do have it on crystal receive at the moment. But yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Interesting. So that is a modification. I don't know if it's a factory thing, considering it's not transmitting sideband. They, probably 2 years later, they came out with the General Radio Telephone did make a sideband radio. But they were about the only one that with the transmit, single sideband radio. So maybe someone had that modified to listen in. Interesting. But that would be the way to do it. Unfortunately, since you can't bring the receive up to 38, which is where most of the local sideband is, you'll kind of have to wait, see if somebody's around that. But what we'd like you to do is just keep it on channel 11 so you can check it in each week. And it looks like it may have, well, let's see, when you key down, I think it's getting a carrier. Sometimes it doesn't. I'm just going to think maybe you have a loose or a crystal. The crystal is not making contact quite right. But the best way to make the radios work is to check them in as often as you can. Radio number 3, the General Radio Telephone MC4 from 1961. There's actually a schematic for that radio at oldtubradio.com. Originally sold for about $200. Priceless on the Old Tube Radio Network. Give us another transmission. We've got Radio 4 standing by, but always good to hear you on. And that is a classic radio Let's see, I think you said it once adorned the Radio Shack of SWL1, sounding good from SWL81 and beaconing worldwide on oldtuberadio.net. Thanks for bringing it by. Back to you.
Okay, thanks for the check-in. And I think that's probably what's wrong with it is the channel selector switch is really hard to turn, and sometimes it doesn't make real good contact. So that's probably what's going on there. But I'm just going to leave it on channel 11, and hopefully I can get it checked in next week. Thanks for the check-in, and good talking with you on Mountain Listening.
Indeed, thanks for bringing it by. The Old Tube Radio Network here in Central California. Channel 11 is where we were at, 27085, and believe it or not, we have been doing this on Saturday evenings for just about 35 years, thanks to our radio collectors and operators who take time out of their Saturday evenings to sneak away, perhaps, into the Radio Shack and to take a transmission for us. Radio number 4 beaconing now at 9:25 Pacific Daylight Time. Hello, Chris. Over.
And hello, Dennis. Tell me if it's just me or not. Is there a lot of noise on the radio tonight?
There is a lot of noise. I can hear it. It could be just the atmospheric wind thing going on. There was a couple of other stations that have mentioned it. And maybe you have some local power lines and things that are not real happy with the weather conditions as well.
All right, now who was that you were just talking to, though? Was that Dennis?
That was Steve, SWL81, sometimes known as the Unicorn.
Oh, okay. I was having a hard time hearing. He was right at the noise level. It just made it hard to hear. But anyway, can I check in the radio?
You may check in the radio. It will be radio number 4. Over.
Okay, well, I want to check in my general radio telephone, the Super MC11A 24-channel tuber. Those are dark. We are running this here with a non-amplified stock microphone. Over.
Sounding good. I believe Steve, who prior to you checked in with from 1961, the MC4. We move up about 10 years probably to this radio, the Super MC11A. Let me get the full screen on that. And you will see, if you're watching the video, that there are some similarities and there are some differences. They kept that utility style of radio, changed some things around. The rack handles are still there. We are now 23 channels. This one, I believe, has the proper S meter on it. And some other things. No sideband involved, but we'll talk about the microphone that Chris is using, which is the stock microphone, which you see at the top of the picture, if indeed you're looking at the picture. Otherwise, you will hear it as you take another transmission. Over.
Absolutely. I hope to hear it anyway. Yeah, but I figured I'd at least get one of them in here. I think I got another one over here. It looks like it's warming up. Let me see. Yeah, let me see. Feel it? Yeah, it's warm. I'll be getting over to that one.
All right. Well, don't abandon this one just yet. It's now all that from 9 tubes. The ECLL 800. I don't know how obtainium those are today, but that was the sort of modification that General Radio Telephone did, I think, on the Super MC8, on the MC8, MC9, somewhere in there, to make things sound most excellent. Non-amplified microphone. And I'm hoping you hear me okay on the receive as well.
Oh, yes. I definitely hear you. No troubles at all. One day I can't figure out what's going on with my other radio, but my receive just went berserko. It's working perfectly for some reason. You know, I've always had trouble with the receive on Kenwood, and all of a sudden it's working great tonight. I don't know, but everybody else said my radio sounded like poo-poo, but it sounds great on this end.
Well, it sounded okay here. I'll have to admit, though, it does not have the audio for sure that this radio does. And I've got to put the S meter back up. Take another transmission. We'll see your Kenwood comes in about S9 with an occasional +5 on the audio peaks. Take a transmission on this one.
Okay. Well, I know this here is showing a swinging forward. It's showing I'm keying up at what? 3 watts and swinging almost to 4.
Yeah, this one is pretty much a solid 5 over S9. You might get another couple of dB on the peaks. Sounding good. So don't touch the thing on this one. It sounds good. And you are radioactive here tonight on the Old Tube Radio Network. So thanks for bringing that by. And I think you said something else is warming up, so we'll let you go check that one out. But before you go, and the Jingle Singers are gathering here at the bottom of the hour, before you go, give us another transmission on the General Radio Telephone Super MC11A, radio number 4 tonight.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Dennis, I'll be back here in just a bit here to fire up the other one. If you're out there right after the Jingle Singers, hopefully I will return.
All right, thanks. You are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, your favorite slot on the dial by far is known to you as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
Station for you, OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network. Checking in, listening for those classic 11-meter CB radios. I've got my SWL list out here so that I may check in and also say hello to SWL 78. I will make it official here on the big board. And also say hello, Richard, the infamous, what did we say? Juliet Mike beaconing in here on 11 meters tonight. Like the old shellacked record that takes that big heavy-duty needle, 78. Sounding good, and we are looking for radio number 5.
Can I be number 5? 5?
Yeah, hold on one. Go ahead and step up to the air chair there, Chris, at 9:30. And then I think we have someone else. Don't take a transmission. Who was the other station? Was that you, Paul? Over?
That's correct. 45.
All right, you will be the next radio number 6. I've got you logged in, so enjoy the green room, and we will be right back to you. Over.
Sounds good.
In the air chair at the moment is, once again, from northwest Fresno, Chris in the radio room with the item that he said was warmed up, and it sounds like it is. Over.
Yes, it is warmed up. I'm looking at everything here. It shows that it is working with all the blinking lights and everything. So I want to check in my Courier Royale, the 23 channel tuber that glows in the dark. This is the one with all the knobs on the front and the blinking lights in the front and the hidden knob in the back. But we are running this here with the amplified D104 Lollipop. This is the TUG8 stand, just to let you know. You know, they got different ones. They got the 9, 8, and I don't know what else they have. But anyway, that's what this one is, and it's working. Over.
It's working great. Sounds good here on the Old Tube Radio Network. The Courier Royale. I think when these were out, Courier had 2 other radios. This was their top of the line. There was an ad that said it was built for the CEO, for the president of the company. This was the one that, you know, had everything. No stops left out. And as you can see from, let's go to a closer shot. As you see from the photo here, there is various and sundry knobs for you for your CB radio driving pleasure. You've also got some modulation indicator lights. It sounds good. Convection cooling on the top. Now that radio is warmed up, how hot does that thing get? Can you put your hand on it?
Well.
Uh-oh. Maybe that was not the question to ask. And the reason I did, I had heard some comments about some people, especially for the Robin, like the T240D, saying that the radio runs so hot that they can't even touch it. So hopefully you are still able to touch something there, Chris. Over.
It was not working?
Well, I asked you about if the radio was hot, and then I think you went to go check, and then things stopped, and the carrier went away. But that's good to know that you are back.
Okay, I wasn't paying any attention. But yes, I put my hand on it. It's warm to the touch. Not hot, just warm. All the way across the top side, I can feel it. And, you know, I can feel a little heat. but nothing that would bother anybody. You can set up for, they put an ice cube on it, probably wouldn't melt it right now, but it might start to. But it like I said, just lukewarm.
20.
And the 20 is in. We'll be right back to you, sir. Lukewarm is good. The tubes like heat. Transistors don't like heat. So if the tube radio is running hot and it's not smelling really hot and smoking, it's probably okay. Tubes can handle the hot weather, which we're not going to have much of anyway. This is an 11-tube radio, unlike the Super MC 11A, which only had 9 tubes. It's got the Collins 6 kilohertz mechanical filter to help you out on your receive as well, 23 channels, and there is a service manual at oldtuberadio.com. So who's next? 45 is next, and then we'll get over to 20. But I want you to take another transmission since you've been so nice to run into the radio room this evening for us. The Courier Royale, always a favorite of many. Thanks for bringing it by. Back to you.
Okay, well, just to let you know, of course, I've already turned the general off. I put my hand on the general, and actually the general radio is warmer than this radio, and I turned them on at the same time. So, but the general definitely is a lot warmer than this one. So I don't know, maybe it's a difference in the cooling, or the tubes are further apart, or something. But
Well, that one's got some nice cooling vents on the top. I think it's a wider radio, but it also has 2 more tubes. But maybe it's that ECLL 800 beaconing in there. Sounding good. Thanks for radio number 5, the Courier Royale. Harvey, I hear you. Step into the green room. Coming up to the air chair now is Paul, SWL 45, and then we'll pick you up, Harvey, if you have a radio, for radio number 7. So we'll be right back to you. Right now at 9:36, the Old Tube Radio Network. Listening for and looking out for Paul. Hello, radio.
Yeah, Harvey, I won't make it long, so I won't. With listening to radio, there's not that much to say about it. I'd like to check in my General Radio telephone VS6.
Good. I'm glad you brought by a VS radio. I mentioned them earlier as an aside to the master control, and I want people to see the difference. Okay, I was hoping we'd have a little better picture than that, but I will add that. And they were not as fancy as the master control series, but as you'll hear, they are quite as loud, almost quite as loud. The audio is good too. Take a transmission, over.
Yeah, a little bitty thing there. Microphone is stop on the thing. Corbin microphone, I'm sure you can tell. It's a great little radio. It puts out about probably as much as my Browning, but you know what? I could take probably 6 or 7 of these little ones and put inside the Browning teeth easily. So you can figure the size of the thing. No meters on it, just a plain front. It's got just a slight switch on the side of the thing, and one for the distance and local, and on the right side a radio and bullhorn, and below that is an off and on volume, and the part of you got a little light in the middle that rolls brighter as you modulate, and also comes on when you turn it on. It's got 5 channels for the crystal control both ways. That's been received. That's the size of the radio, but not even the size of it. It's small, but boy, it's built like a tank. Back to you.
And 37 on the side.
Okay, we'll get you for radio number 8. Yeah, built like a tank. This was basically for their mobile. It can run 12-volt DC or 100-volt AC, but this was their entry-level radio as well. Very, very reasonably priced in 1965 at around $100. So I bet they probably sold quite a few of these. And if you were getting into CB radio, maybe not as a hobby, which it wasn't supposed to be, but you were really using it as the FCC intended, where you would buy a base radio and you would buy a mobile radio for your unit, your KEO 8492 base to Unit 1, and you were talking 2 stations in your same license class, which is sort of what you were supposed to do, or using it for business. This would have been a good setup. So for about $100 or about $250, you could buy not only the base radio, but the mobile radio, and of course you'd have to add some antennas in there, but you would have a system set up for around $300, and you'd be on the air in 1965 when this came out. Only 7 tubes, believe it or not. It's all 6-volt tubes with the output. It's a 6GW8. It sounds good, though. The Carbon microphone doing a good job. Back to you. Over.
Okay. It doesn't have the swing as the other radio does, but with the Carbon mic and everything else, it's understandable. Anyway, I'm glad you had to check in. My receiver's going down, so I must be having a week too. All right, thanks, Dad.
Just a little bit over S8 on the S meter here. And the audio sounding good. It's nice and loud. No problem hearing it, even with the S8 signal from General Radio's telephone. Their VS6. They had a whole line of those, just like they did the Master Control radios. The Old Tube Radio Network, Jingle Singers, they are... Okay, they can wait here. We got a couple of radios that need to check in. First, let's head over to... Chris is in the green room. Harvey is stepping up into the air chair at 9:40. And I believe you might have a radio for us, SWL20, over.
I do, but first I got a question. A couple questions. I was in the house watching a baseball game and listening, but was that an General MC4 that had a modification for sideband?
Yes, it was a General Radio Telephone MC4. I believe it came from Dr. J's collection. The switch that typically would have been the distance local switch appeared to have been modified to maybe put in some type of a beat frequency oscillator for, detecting sideband. That is my guess, but definitely there were some modifications going on.
Okay. Well, that was probably, that's, I would say, 100% correct. The gentleman that did that had obviously an MC4, but had either seen or heard about the new MC5 sidebander. Right above where the the VFO is, it would say MC5 sidebander. Below where the local distance switch was, they had an AM on top, SSB, DSB below switch, same position, same spot, and then from that SSB they had an arrow going upward around the side of the switch, near the top of the switch, to a circle that said VAR, probably reminding you to use the variable tuner because it was receive only sideband. It's called an MC5 sidebander. I have one of those in storage because I could never ever get the thing to work, not even close. I could barely get it to go on. It was just toast. But I never got rid of it because of what it is. So it's in storage somewhere. But I brought up a picture of it so I could tell you about it. But it's MC5 sidebander. Now for transmit, what you did was, let me get it here, get the, I gotta lock this on, because it's a smaller picture. You got the General Radio Telephone sideband generator. Now, as the MC5 sidebander looks like the rectangular box regular MC5, the sideband generator looks like the older ones, the VS series radios. Now, what this had was a load and tune knob on it, and a meter, and the meter said tune to max. And then you had a switch that said AM SSB a little light bulb, and an on-off switch on the front. And basically, you simply plug the SBT-3 was the model number, sideband generator into the MC-5SB or any CB transmitter, and then you could make the radio do sideband transmit. If the other radio was just AM, you couldn't receive sideband. So the radio transceiver had to be band, and then this thing would give you transmit. So you could take a, what is it, the Browning Mark II that has the sideband receive on it, I think, and then without the transmitter, and use this thing with it. But anyway, that's what they had, and that's around 1963 they had that. Let's see, 1962-63. Back to you.
Okay, very interesting. So this very well could have been some, well, for the VS4, not a factory mod, but like you said, someone trying to work out what they were doing with the MC5. We have that in our list, but I don't have a picture, so I'm glad you're finding something somewhere. And in 1963, they actually did come out with, I think I can actually have a picture of that. They actually did come out with a separate sideband radio, which was the SB72, which Paul has, and he's checked in before, and that looks more like something that you don't have to really finagle like you were talking about to get the sideband. So maybe after they fooled around on their kitchen, the General Radio kitchen technical table, they decided, well, maybe we'll just go ahead and put this all in a nice case, and there was the SB72. And you said you had one, but it's never worked, because I don't remember ever checking in a MC5 sideband, even though we do have record of that in our database here. Over.
Roger, I could never check it in. I couldn't get the thing to ever work. But I kept it because of the uniqueness. Yes, the SB72. Paul's got one, I've got one. He's got one model, I've got a different model. There's a difference in tubes in it. He's got a BB30, and I've got a BB30, but his has got a different, one or two different tubes than mine does, believe it or not, so it's weird. But if a person wants to look at that MC5, go to CB Tricks, go to Radio Schematics, go to G for General Radio Telephone. It'll be the first one. Yeah, they don't have MC4. First one is MC5. Then you go to Vintage Advertising. First picture will be of the MC5 we all know and love, but you scroll down and you'll see this one. Along with the sideband generator, you can blow up the pictures and kind of get a good idea of what they are, which is what I did in the house on the computer. Took a picture with my phone so I could come in here to the shed here where the radios are and look at the phone and be able to describe it, because I'm old. I couldn't remember, from in there to here what it all had. But anyway, I do have the MC5 sidebander, but doesn't work. Anyway, if I ever find one, I hope I can get it to work. Okay, this is the R68T68 Browning Golden Beagle by Browning Lavatories with the custom D104 with the medallion on the back of the D104 head. This is the on-air model with the 3-position RF gain switch on the receiver. And I'll turn it back to you.
Back to me in the studio. Okay, good information there. I also have a question I want to ask you, and I won't ask you now, but we'll come back to that. But I'll plant the seed, and I neglected to talk about this last week, and it was brought up, and this concerns an E.F. Johnson, the Messenger 10, which was basically their whiteface configured for 10 meters. So keep that in mind, and maybe we'll chat about that, but not right now because I got a couple of radios that I want to get checked in. You are Radio 7 with the Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68, and thanks for the clarification, the demystification on what General Radio Telephone was doing in the early 60s, way ahead of the time for 11 meters. Now, this is the time also where AM was sort of running out of favor for the amateur radios, and sideband was definitely showing up on your amateur radios, but it didn't quite catch on in the 11-meter Class D until 66 or 67 when Tram and Regency came in, and then, of course, the imports from Yaesu, Kenwood, and whatever. So interesting stories on that. So I'll go back to you for a quick transmission, and then we'll pick up our other radios, but be thinking about if you've ever worked on or seen a E.F. Johnson Messenger 10. I think that's what it's called. Over.
Well, there's I think 202 and 205, technically business band radios. Are you talking about those?
No, this will be an actual 10-meter... I'll have to find the link. I was sent a link, so we'll get a picture, and it's advertised to be on 10 meters. So my guess is they just reconfigured things for 10 meters. It's the same power. It's 5 channels, probably just realigned for 10 meters. That's the first time I'd ever heard of that, but it makes sense, I suppose.
Well, I haven't heard of the 10. I think it's 202 is one. Then you have the 205, then you have this other weird one that's got a long name. But the ones I mentioned, there are 4 models. The last digit, well, they give the Johnson numbers, the model numbers, on the back, and then a final last digit, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that stands for the basic frequency that it operates on. Number one, is 26 megahertz to about 30-something. I have to look it up. Then number 2 goes from 30-something up to the next, then 3, then 4. And they jump up in frequency. And they're all like 30, 40 watt radios, something like that. They were for business band, and obviously 1 or 2 of them will cover around the 10-meter range.
All right, this will be a little bit different than that. I have the ad for that. We'll get back to that. So if you can hang out, don't go well, and I'll bring up the ad. And it does have some numbers. They are different, but they are sort of in sequential order of what you're talking about. So hold that thought. Thanks for Radio 7. At 9:53, I want to talk to, who's on my list? Who did I write down? I believe it was Chris. Hello?
Hello, radio?
Hello, radio. Thanks for being patient. I know we have some other stations as well, and we will get to you here on the Altitude Radio Network. That's my job. That's what I don't get paid for, is to make sure we check in as many radios as possible. Tell us about Radio 8, over.
Okay, well, this is radio number 3 for me. But anyway, that's number 8, number 3, just take 5 off, ends up 3. Anyway, this is my, oh God, shut up, Chris. This is the G PowerMate by Jim Marine Products. 23 channel tuber that goes in the dark. This is the pretty blue one. And we were running this in here with the amplified D104 lollipop also.
Is that the same D104 that you can just plug in from radio to radio, or do you have multiple sets of them?
Actually, just the head off the other one put onto this one.
Oh, so it's still the same. Okay, you're using the mic plug that works to radio, and you just change the heads. Okay, that makes sense. That's a way to do it.
See, there microphone is plugged into each radio, but this head here sounds better than the other head that I have, so I'll just take the head off that one, put it over to this one, vice versa. And that's how it works. Over.
Okay, interesting. They did different, I guess, dynamic ceramic. Let me sneak in while we're talking about it here, a shot of the radio that you are talking. In fact, it is the radio you're talking about. It says it's from the collection of Chris. It's Gemarine Gemarine Products G Power Mate. And if it's a very blue radio, that must be yours.
Yes, it is. It's aqua blue.
Aqua blue with the, let's see, the green RX light, and when you unkey, it'll be red on the TX.
Absolutely. It just went TX red.
All right, that is our radio number 8 at 9:53 tonight. One of the infamous Panasonic chassis that always sounds so good and seems to have survived the test of time. Back to you for another transmission, and then I'm going to pick up another radio.
Okay, well, you're picking up a lot of radios. Be careful on the back, on the arms, so just be careful. Some of them do get heavy, jokingly. All right, Dennis, I will be back with another.
All right, I think they all get heavy, but that's a good thing. That's why we're here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Let me shout out to Captain Keyboard, Net Control, and glad to see that the calamities are subsiding over there. Sorry to hear about that, but hope all is going better. Thanks for tuning in the Old Tube Radio Network tonight. Was there another station that wanted to, was patiently standing by and wanted to check in a radio? Over? 25. All right. I know that you had warmed one up earlier when you checked in, and I think it's going to be apropos to what's been going on tonight and fit in the mix quite well. So go ahead with your transmission. Over.
Also 35, 37.
Information from Harvey talking about the MC5 sidebander. It just so happens that I'm checking in the MC5 from General Radio Telephone from downtown Burbank, California. Back to you, Dennis.
Interesting. All right, now I have a picture coming up that says it's a General Radio Telephone sidebander. So what I'm going to do is I won't go to that because we were talking about that, and it doesn't work on an exploded view. So let me explode it even more, make it worse. Let's try that. That is the sidebander. We were talking about, it says sidebander on it. It's got the extra little switch, which is sort of in the position of the MC4. Okay, we'll reference that. So I just wanted to make sure that I actually have a picture of that. Now we'll go to the radio on which you are transmitting. If I can get that, the database isn't working here tonight. But go ahead with a transmission, and I think we'll be talking about some of the features of that General Radio Telephone MC5. Over.
Yeah, okay. Well, I know the audio is a little funky. We talked about that before, and we've messed with some different microphones, and so it's still a work in progress. But it's a great radio. It's cherry. It's beautiful condition, and so it has the tone alert. It has a signal meter in the middle of it. It has it actually down in between the receive and transmit knobbins. It has an actual jack for external secret crystal, if you want to put one in there. But anyway, and talking on a Turner Plus 3 powered microphone, by the way, amplified. So, but it's turned down pretty much. So anyway, back to you, Dennis.
Back to me in the studio. It is working. It has some interesting audio. It's not quite the sound that we would normally hear, I think, out of the MC5, but that could be just needing a few tubes. But we'll talk about the sound that the MC5 made. Also, the MC4 as well had I think Paul said his had a tone signal. They didn't make them in the MC6, and it may have even had one in the VS4, so you could sort of call out to your other stations. And now I have a front panel for both the MC5 and the sidebander, so that'll be good for working some splits to try and get those two radios together. But I thank you for your timeliness on Radio 9. The MC5 coming out in, I want to say, late 1962. Probably if you have some old 1962 CB catalogs, you will see some probably half-page, full-page color ads because they spend a lot of money. Probably the most advertised general radio telephone CB that they made. The last one with the tone signal, as I said. And this is also 7 tubes. Schematic available at alltuberadio.com. It will go 6-volt, 12-volt DC if you got the proper cable. But it will do something else. So let's go back to you for the tone signal demonstration. Over.
37.
There you go, Dennis. Anyway, thanks for checking it in. Thank you.
All right, for those of us who don't know, when you flip the tone signal, the switch up to tone signal, does it automatically transmit, or do you also have to key the microphone?
No, it's a spring-loaded switch. All you gotta do is push it down, and I can actually hear it. So, but it has something to do with the microphone.
Okay, you push it down. So it's like push to talk. I believe your microphone circuit is active as well when that kicks in. So if you were to speak, the tone will probably drown you out, but I think that microphone circuit is open. All right, very good stuff. Thanks for standing by. Radio 9 at 9:56, and looks like we will have Chris as Radio 10. Thanks for bringing that by.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis, and it's great to hear all the other stations out there, and good to hear Chris's MC11. Boy, I think his voice sounds great. Anyway, back to you, Dennis.
All right, thanks for listening in. Top of the hour, the Old Tube Radio Network here. They're having a good time. They're having a good time in the other studio, so I won't bother them. We'll get to one more radio in here from Chris at the top of the hour. Hello, 37, over.
Hello, Dennis. And Jerry, thank you for the flowers. Anyway, this one here, it looks like the other one, but it's different. I'm going to check my Chris 23 Plus CB transceiver. Now, this one, I touch up there on the top, it's hot. It's hot. When I say it's hot, it's hot. I cannot leave my hand there. I'm sorry. It says no, you have to move it. But anyway, that's the Chris 23 Plus transceiver. This one here, I'm also running this here with the original handheld stock microphone. Over.
Sounds good, looks good. The Panasonic chassis. And I'm trying to think, the person who said that their radio was hot was a Robin, and it's a 240D. So that's similar chassis. It was a Panasonic chassis. So that makes sense. The person I heard complaining or mentioning that their radio was too hot to touch was one of those Panasonics. So that's probably not unusual. And if you do cook anything, make sure you wrap it in aluminum foil before you put it on the top of the radio. Over.
Yes, most definitely. I don't want the grease to drip down in there or anything like that. Or like if I try to fry an egg, I don't want the yolk to go and drip down the tubes or anything. So, and I do like eggs. And even with the bacon, you got to be extremely careful with the bacon because when you cook in bacon, it pops and splatters. So you want to have extra heavy-duty aluminum foil over.
Yes, you do. Your radio will smell good, but it will smoke and it will not be happy. Radio 10, we did make it into double digits tonight. The Chris 23 Plus from the collection of Chris. Who would have thunk? Give us another transmission, and then we've got the jingle singers needed to do what they do best.
Okay, well, you do what you do best all the time, every time. And they do too, but you deserve it more. So congratulations on that. All right, Dennis, thank you. I'm going to get off this here. I'm going to be listening on the other radio, the big one. The big heavy boat anchor here that's really big. It's really big too. Anyway, you know how big it is. You've seen it before. Anyway, Dennis, I'm out and going to that one to listen. Over.
All right, I'm not sure what I do best. I'm just the stooge in between the radios.
You may not find us on your TV, because in case you did not know, we're being brought to you by
OTR.
Brought to you by
27.085 megahertz.
Brought to you by RADI.
the Old Tube Radio Network.
RADIO, the Old Tube Radio Network. And thank you. Thank you over in the studio. I wanted to see if Harvey is still listening over. All right. I have, let me see if I can bring this into, there it is. That is the Viking 10-meter messenger, 10 watts AM input, instant selection of 5 frequencies. It looks just like the Viking messenger, the white face. Same tube complement, and the catalog number is 242202 and a 242203. The 202 is the 115-volt, 6-volt version. The 203 is 115-volt, 12-volt version. They're $139.75. And I'm seeing if it comes with a crystal or a frequency selection. The Viking 10-meter messenger is a superbly engineered receiver in one compact package. So with frequencies pre-tuned, instant selection of 5 pre-tuned frequencies in the range of 29.4 to 29.7 with a 300 kilocycle segment of the 10-meter band. That's interesting. So what would now be the FM portion of the band, the AM window is below that. And I'm thinking on 11 meters, you were from 965 to 225. So they gave it that same 300 kilocycle section, but just moved it up for some reason up to 29.4 to 29.7. But I'd never heard of one of those before, but I just wondered if you had ever come across one.
No, I'm looking at the picture right now because I'm still in the room, obviously, but I have it on my phone, and I'm listening to you in my Bluetooth, and it's about a 10-second delay. Oh, gosh, I'm listening to myself now. Wait, I got to take this off. I can't do this. Hold on, I can't handle listening to me. Okay, I took the earpiece off so I can't hear me. Okay, I know that sounded kind of funny. Let's see, I'm looking. The tube complement is just like the white face. 242, 202, 203. Okay, what they have generally is those numbers, and then another dash after 203 or 202, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4 to indicate the frequency range. I've looked that up on the internet, but I forgot to print off the paper that showed the frequency. But 10-meter messenger. It sure looks just like the white face, though.
Yeah, I'm thinking it is a white face, and they just recalibrated it to be 300 kilocycles instead of from 29.6 to 27.2, like they said, to 29.4 to 29.7, which means you could probably modify, if you have a white face, to get it up on 10 meters. It's 10 watts. It says 10 watts AM input, meaning it's probably 5 watts output. And then you put in the crystals. I don't see that it says it comes with any crystal, and it didn't really say universal dash mounting kit. I don't see anything that says you can buy a crystal at that, for whatever. It's available for 5 selections. Anyway, I found it interesting. I never heard one before, and I'd never heard anybody talking on one on even a modified one up on 10 meters. I'm just wondering if they actually try to pull a little bit more wattage out of it. A 7061 is a power amplifier tube. All right, I just wanted to comment on that because I found it interesting, and it's about the same price, $139.75. So I'll be listening. I'll be listening during this AM window cycle, see if anybody's running a 10-meter messenger.
Number 7.
There have been so many of these white faces on eBay, and I just assumed that they're all the, quote, regular white face, but maybe some of them are the 10-meter ones, and just nobody knows till you get it. I ought to check out the numbers on the back if they show them. So, anyway, I'm going to go in now. I'm getting a little tired, but, yeah, 29.4, 29.7. But it sure does look like a regular white face. Okay, I'm going to let you go. And I've already checked this one in. Proxy me in and all my other numbers that I usually check in for next week. And then I'll listen on the stream.
Question.
All right, we've got a question. We also have 7 standing by with the radio, I believe, so we will get to you. You'll be radio 11. And it sounds like we got some more radios to go to. So before Harvey goes away, the question, go ahead.
Sure, you butt in there, SWL7. Harvey, we're wrapping up September, and I'm embarrassed. I think your birthday is somewhere around now. Am I wrong?
I couldn't quite copy all that, Dennis.
Yeah, his audio's a little low. There was an inquiry as to the possibility of this month or maybe next month colliding with your birthday. Over.
With my birthday?
That is correct.
23 days ago.
So the beginning of this month.
Roger, September 5. Same as Raquel Welch's birthday. Yep, her and I. Can't you tell the resemblance?
Yeah, she was great in Kansas City Bomber for our stations out there in Kansas, the roller derby movie. And I did see that when it came out in, I don't know, was it 1972 or 73? I admit. And I think I was more a fan of roller derby, but, you know, fan of everything. All right, that question, did that answer your question 47? Over.
Yes, it did. Thank you for relaying that. I'm embarrassed on my low signal, as always. Happy late birthday. And Raquel Welch, that's a pretty good way to tie your birthday into history there. So happy late birthday.
Thank you, Mike.
And now we won't forget. The old Tube Radio Network, going a little bit long tonight. We started a little bit late with the Tube Radio, so we want to give everybody a chance to check in. We still have stations who are really staying up late into the wee hours of Sunday morning here tonight, listening to us from Ohio, British Columbia. Hello to the Colorado, Maryland stations, Virginia. I think that's Queensland's still in there, but I don't know if that's our typical station, if that's Girard or not. But we are glad you are listening out there tonight. Ohio, lots of people in there. So let's get some more radios checked in before we go away. Radio 11 is standing by. Hello, Ed.
And hello, OTR. This is the Tram TR27 Echo.
The damn Tram, for the fans of Tram radios, we have not heard any trams tonight. It has been a general Browning kind of evening. I don't know who's going to be in the lead for the most heard manufacturer. It's going to be one of those two, unless something drastically changes here. But let's talk about the Tram. What I'll do is I'll go to the full screen ad that shows the TR27E with the service tip number 1 as we go back to you for a transmission.
There we go. That is the radio in which I am speaking. Only this one has the Electro Voice 638 microphone. Although I have a microphone just like the one in the ad there, sitting there on the radio getting ready to be wired up.
Yeah, it looks like a plus 2, but it's probably some Shure, might even say Tram on it. Here is the radio. Let's go to the big screen shot if I get it in the frame here of the radio, the actual radio on which Ed is talking, with the 23-channel transmit crystal control, 23-channel tunable receive, and even another crystal for, what would that be for? I guess it's not a transmit, but a receive item there.
That is correct. That would be the external receive. Receive only, unfortunately. Not a transmit also.
I just wonder if the manufacturers or maybe the engineers got letters, and this is a 1963 radio, and this is typical that you might see on the radios that had tunable receives at that time, would have a socket for a external switchable crystal controlled receiver. It was not required by the FCC on the receiver, but maybe they just said, it's really hard to tune in somebody, and I never can tune it in, and they're way over on this side of the dial, so they figured, well, we can fix that. We just what channel do you talk to your unit 2 on, or what's your home channel that you hang out with all your friends, and you just buy that, and then you switch right to it and leave it right there. No worrying about tuning here or tuning there. So I'm assuming that there must have been enough calls or complaints that for the amount of those that we see. But that could be a good thing, I suppose. Or maybe, wink, wink, nod, nod. You could put in something that was out of the CB band and SWL that way. I don't know. Do you have something in your crystal socket there?
No, I do not have anything in the crystal socket. I've never really found any use for it.
Yeah, I guess it's a straight frequency. 455, I don't know. If you found something that was up in the 10-meter band, you plug it in there and see how it works. I'm sure the radios maxed for the 500 kilocycles and the 27 megahertz. Interesting. All right. What was I going to say? I don't know. Back deck to you for transmission. You are Radio 11.
Thank you. With that, we do have one more radio to go.
Perfect, because we have time for one more radio. Thanks for Radio 11. But I bet we have a Radio 12 hanging out there, and I will stand by listening for the other radio.
Got Mike Q killed out by Edson Time.
All right. Yes, he took his cue quite well, because that will give Ed some time, and he probably doesn't need much to switch his radios. But in the meantime, your radio, which was already warmed up and ready to go, is now warmed up and ready to go. Tell us about it. Over.
All right. Well, the first comment is what a pleasure it is to use this on Saturday night. We have all the windows open, so I think with finally the cool fall weather we're having, that I've just been waiting for this to happen. This Browning R27 S23, this beautiful aroma that's sending off, mixed with the fall winds here, are just creating a magnificent atmosphere here in the radio lounge. So it's a Browning, and it's great. It smells wonderful.
It is. It helps with our mix of Brownings. We started the evening with the Browning Eagle Mark IV, the last of the Browning Eagle line, and then we had the first of the Eagles, the Golden Eagles, the R68 T68. We have a couple of those, actually. And then we have now the first in the radios from Browning that wore the Eagle badge, or the, I don't know if you call that a badge, but it does show the eagle. This isn't the flying eagle, but it is an eagle head. And this was around probably 1964. Am I right? Yeah, 64 to 66, prior to the Golden Eagle series. So over to you for a transmission, and it's working nicely. It hasn't skipped a beat.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's getting rather late. I'm rather tired, so I sometimes forget on this unamplified banana mic. I forget to really put some audio into it on my part. Yeah, this is I guess the Eagle. I remember a long time ago, super long time ago, when I was just listening to people check their radios, and I would immediately go on eBay and check them out. You know, they're Browning radios with those really awesome looking, I guess Eagles that were, I don't know if they're, well, I'm sure they're probably metallic. Maybe they're plastic, actually glued on top of the speaker on the receiver. This doesn't have it. The best I can do is a painted Eagle. Right, where's that thing? I guess on my transmitter, right in between the channel selector and the ginormous on-the-air lamp, I've got a picture of a rather fierce-looking Eagle. I would, yeah, that's the only place you see it located. I just love to have one of those other radios. I don't know if you could comment on that, because it's been quite a few years since I paid attention to that. You know, which radios actually have those, like I said, metal or plastic ones glued to the receivers? I don't know. I definitely remember seeing some receivers that seem to have them put on there after the fact, but I thought they were cool nonetheless.
That's the standard issue. It's almost as though they weren't quite sure that this Eagle moniker, this Eagle logo was going to fly, so they put it on there. It's certainly not as grandiose as the big flying Eagle that showed up later. You can probably find Browning logos, Eagle logos or whatever to put on there, but I would leave it standard in stock. It's sort of off placing the channel selector on the other side. Obviously the Eagle brand caught on quite nicely, and so it grew and sprouted wings on the later sets. But I don't know in the 2 years that they were producing this, if on the transmitter there may be a later model that they added or did some modification to that Eagle. I don't know about that, but I think what you have is probably good and representative of the way it came from the factory, which is a lot of people like to keep these radios. Over.
Okay, yeah. You know, I've always lived by the motto, leave it stock and you'll rock. Yeah, I'm not gonna fix any weird things to my radios. But I do remember seeing one or two of those online a long time ago, thinking, oh my God, are you kidding me? You're trying to do that to earn a couple extra bucks on eBay. That's just ridiculous. But no, I love this radio. I do like the mic. Forever, I use the what was it? A Turner Plus 2 amplified mic, which is fun. But thanks to Harvey, at some point in time, I got this unamplified banana mic, which I just love it, and I know I always say the same thing over and over and over again. This microphone it's fun to use. You know, it looks great, and it's really heavy metal bass, and you pick it up, and it's much more ergonomically correct to my standards versus the Turner. The Turner, I don't know, the Turner microphone may have performed a little bit better, but I think it was just a little bit more clumsy, to be honest with you. I think it was much easier to accidentally lock the talk button on that mic versus this one. But anyways, fun radio to use, and everyone sounds great on it.
Including yourself, which you can't hear. The world's finest CB base station for $359. As according to the ad, the Browning Eagle is the most modern base station you can buy. It has all the latest features you've been looking for, and it delivers that famous Browning base station performance. If you want the base station that's the talk of CB airwaves, you want the new Browning Eagle. The undisputed mark of excellence in CB radio. Reading off the ad, the R27, the receiver, the larger unit, the S23, the sending unit, smaller unit, and history was made from Laconia, New Hampshire back in 1964. Back to you for another transmission. I think we have another radio that would like to check in as Radio 13, if they are still there, which we certainly want to pick up. But I'm glad that you are able to jump into the radio lounge tonight on a Saturday night, which is a good night, especially if you want to check in a radio. Over.
Oh, please. It's always my pleasure. I always like to refer to people by their SWL numbers, but I think Ed has moved around. Is he 7?
He is 7. He's been 7 for a long time.
Okay, well, after the show, SWL7, I'd like to make a quick comment to you. But on that, I'm going to send it back to you, and we're going to listen to another great radio.
Indeed, we will. The Jingle Singers, what do they want to do? They have been... Bob and Steve gave something tonight, and they just haven't been real wanting to get into the microphone. Let's see. Okay, they're saying... They can do this, which is what we want.
You're tuned to
OTR. Channel 11.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us.
Old Tube Radio.
And be modern.
Counting and amounting, but listening for radios.
Number 7.
And there is number 7. To be our lucky number 13 radio. And adding to the mix, this will be interesting to see. It's between the Brownings and the Generals tonight. And like an exciting football game, the Brownings are coming on strong in the fourth quarter. Go ahead, over.
There you go. Well, the Browning Mark III SSB with the Golden Eagle D104 microphone.
And I have the perfect picture for that with, it's, especially for when I don't have the actual radio that's being checked in, it's very hard for me to get a matching set of what the operator has, but I think I've got one here, albeit the configuration on the Browning is a little bit different, I think, on the coloring and on the air meters, but at least I got the microphonium in there. So back to you for a transmission.
There you go. Approximately the same thing. Yeah, that radio has just a couple of little different things, but same radio, same microphone. Mine, of course, are side by side, not stacked on top of each other, making it just a hair over 31 inches across the table.
So something to think about as you start your old tube radio collection career, that you're going to need some radio real estate in the radio room. And you're going to need a nice heavy shelf when you really get the bug. Of course, you can get something like the VS4 that VS6 that we saw earlier that will pretty much fit into a shoebox size area. You have to have some convection cooling, but you know that you're going to get the radio bug and eventually be like many of our collectors that have, they don't have an entire room devoted to the radio. They have radios spaced around their QTH so that perhaps they might be checking in from the kitchen or the living room or the bedroom or the den. But you will find a tube radio. Radio 13 is sounding good. Give us another transmission.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I've been lucky with that number 13 just lately. Friday the 13th, I was number 13 on the list for the San Joaquin Valley Net on 75 meters. So, yeah, a lot of 13's been coming up. Maybe someone's trying to tell me something.
I don't know. I'm checking. Do we even have an SWL-13, or has that been delegated somewhere? Why don't I know? Why can't I find that? Oh, it is Mike. Okay, and he check in? Let me see, because he'll come in. We're talking about 13. That's right. He's lucky. How could I forget? He's lucky number 13. And I don't see him. Don't see him on the list. So at least we got a 13 radio tonight.
There you go. Got into double digits. That's always a good thing. And getting Brownings in there is always a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
It is. All right. I will say I'm counting and amounting. It is 10:30. Not a bad thing here on the West Coast, where it is still Saturday evening. Thanks for those staying up late tonight. And I'll be listening for any more check-ins while I do some tallying here. And my noise level has actually gone down a little bit. Actually open the RF gain back up.
Gee, is there a software-defined radio check-in also?
Well, I suppose if I ever got into the 21st century, that would be a nice little feature to add to the video. We could cut to the waterfall display, and then you could have fun watching your tube radio lock in on frequency as the waterfall display sort of moves to the left or right.
It would be really nice to have the spectrum scope and stuff like that to watch as you see your signal come in.
I suppose I could do that with just some dongle thing somehow. Or you can make an all-tube SDR radio, right? As long as you could connect it to, well, you could just connect the SDR part, the pan adapter part to your tube radio. I don't know. I guess there's a way to do it.
That would be pretty good. Software-defined tube radio.
You would have to have, can you do it on a CRT? On an old screen like that? I suppose you could. The break OTR, go ahead, over. No, it's not. In fact, it's interesting. I was just counting, and I had my counting pin right on the bottom of page 4, and I'm thinking, that's right. We didn't hear from Jim. So let me put an X in the square, and that adds another. So you add another spot on page 4. We are going late tonight. It took a long time to go through the SWLs, which is not a problem. So we're staying out late checking in radios. Over. Yeah, we did good. We've got 13 radios, and I'm just trying to figure out who the most heard manufactured is. Thanks for remembering the Saturday night place to be. The old Tube Radio Network, where the Paperwork Reduction Act is not enforced. Last call for radios. I want to see if there's any comments or items that I might have missed. And apologize. Sometimes I get busy with the paperwork, and I miss talking to people who are asking me questions. All right, I think we're good there. Any other radio check-ins? And then Mr. Announcer and the Old Tube Radio Orchestra said,
Ladies and gentlemen, time now for the current OTR totals.
The current and final totals. I need some water. I didn't bring my normal drink, and I'm inhaling water out of the stupid plastic bottle. Let's see. I think I have can I have a cough button here? Like a true professional, we can turn the microphone off. I'm dying here. What did I want to tell you? I wanted to tell you first, thank you for checking in, listening into the Old Tube Radio Network, wherever you may be. We do this every Saturday, beginning at 8 p.m. Pacific time, and we've been doing it a long time, which is okay. I'm glad we don't have 35 years of video, especially with Neon. Actually, we've had, over the 35 years, we have had many net controllers. Not just the guy you normally hear, but in fact, you just heard one of them, Mr. Ed. Is sitting in the air chair here, having a good time. What am I trying to do? Oh, yeah, we're talking about SWLs. Checking in tonight, we had 49 total, 10 on page 1, 11 on page 2, 11 on page 3, and 17 on page 4. Starting the new 8-week roster, if you're playing the home game, you should have been checking radios from 9/28/2019. Also, you would be adding our new 00 for this 8-week period, which is Brian, SWL 49. And let's see, we added somebody, Mark out of East Texas for SWL 22. And I want to say we had somebody else new, but I think I typed it in, so it's not it's not sticking out there. But I know you're there. So whoever you are, welcome to the Old Tube Radio Network. Let's talk about, speaking of Old Tube Radios, let's talk about Tube Radios here, where tonight we had 13. And the fanfare was all about giving the totals. So 13 radios. Was the most heard manufacturer the Browning Laboratories, or out of Laconia, New Hampshire, or the General Radio Telephones out of Burbank, California? Was it the East Coast or the West Coast tonight? And thanks to a great fourth quarter by the Brownings, they came out with 5 to best the General Radio Telephones that were 4 radios tonight. We love them all, right? However, we do have a friendly competition. Sometimes the Lafayette's or the Sonars or the Robins will sneak in there. That's okay too. Started off with the Browning Golden Eagle Mark IV. Our, as I told Paul, probably our newest, oldest radio tonight, and that's from 1977 or 78. Radio number 2 is the Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68, the first of two of those checking in tonight. The General Radio Telephone MC4. Mr. Unicorn sounding good on an MC4 with some modifications that we talked about. Thanks, Harvey, for that. I forgot about the MC5 sideband, and I did find, where was it? I think I actually did find a picture of that. Maybe I'll stick that up while I'm blabbing away here. And everything you described was correct. Probably because you were looking at the picture. I see what it is. There's actually 2 items. Let's see. I think I can add it in with the S meter. There it is. Let me put it full screen so we get a better shot. Picture's not that great, is it? Let me go back to that one. It's still not that great. Radio number, let's see, General Radio Telephone. Radio number 4 was the General Radio Telephone Super MC11A from Chris, followed by the Courier Royale from his collection for Radio 5. Radio 6, the General Radio Telephone VS6 from Paul. The Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68, our second one of the evening, was Radio 7. In fact, it's very possible that Radio 7 was probably going to be an R68 T68 from somebody. So there you go. Radio 8 was a Gem Marine Products G-Power Mate from Chris. Radio 9 tonight, Jerry on the General Radio Telephone MC5 with no sideband attached. Radio 10 was Chris on the Chris 23 Plus. That was followed by Mr. Ed on the Tram TR27E. The Browning Eagle R27 S23 came in from the Radio Lounge. Radio 12 from Mike SWL 47, and then we followed that up with the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB just moments ago from Mr. Ed here on the Old Tube Radio Network. So once again, we've hopefully brought some history and given you, if you weren't around, as I think Steve said, back in the 1960s or whenever it was, the earlier days of CB radios, when there probably wasn't a lot of bad language and noisemakers and who knows what. Just people having friendly chats. That's what we'd like to do on the Old Tube Radio Network. Hopefully you are doing something similar with a Get on the Air night where you are at. If not, why not? It only takes what? It only takes two. It takes base and Unit 1. Maybe you're not in the same license class, but I don't think the FCC really cares anymore. Do they care anything about CB radio anymore? I don't know. That's probably why the commissioner is no longer 00. 73, everybody. We will talk to you next time, next Saturday, I hope. I think I will be here on the Old Tube Radio Network. If not, somebody will be doing something. Good night, and the archives will be up shortly.
Great night tonight, Dennis. Thank you, and good night.
Good night, and good night to all the SWLs. Oh, and of course, Bozo Control.
Somewhere.
I'd like to know where that horn came from. Like an old bicycle horn or what?
The honking proboscis, I think that's the correct term. The honking proboscis to which you refer, and I'm having to think now, which in theory really shouldn't even be honking, is not in great shape, might have been made in Japan. That's how old it is. I guarantee it wasn't made in China. I am seeing if it says anything. Queen, what? Deer Guard. I don't know. It says a deer guard. It's got a deer on it. I'm examining the proboscis here, Bozo Control. All right, you can have your item back. Am I still keyed down? Unfortunately. The story on that, and bicycle is correct, and I think it fell off of, is it Gemco? No, W.T. Grant's. There was a W.T. Grant store at Cedar and Ashland, I believe. So this would be 73, 74, 75, and a friend of mine was working at that store, and when I think they had to put the bikes together or something, and this either came off or wouldn't fit. I don't remember. I'm not sure he would either, but he's still around to ask. And so that honking proboscis attached to that character has been following me around for all that time. Over.
Is he still around in Fresno?
Yes, indeed, because that was his. He's like one of our first group that you actually got a job making, $1.95 an hour somewhere. How cool!
Oh yeah, that's definitely cool. Okay. Okay, before I pass out while I'm up here, Ted, you still listening? Oh no, epic fail. Ted, that's the old stuff. Oh no, please tell me you didn't go to sleep.
You know, he's got one of those multi-banded radios. Sometimes it's easy to hit that 75-meter switch.
Oh, I'm still here. He's just in my noise.
5. Yeah, I've never spoken on that. That's something. Okay, no big deal.
Okay, what's your biggest and best radio? Apparently, and Ed has, unfortunately, the massive QRM that basically makes probably anything under an S9 very uncopyable, and that's unfortunately what's happened to your signal at the moment. You're displaying in his noise.
Okay, you touched on this earlier. So I'm going to attempt to speak up. Hello, I'm looking at the modulation lamp. Really, this signal that I'm putting out right now is a little bit lower than normal.
You know, I actually want to say it is. I'm looking in your S8, and I'm thinking that you are normally at least an S9 from where you're at. So combined with a little bit low audio, but again, the signal is low. I think your signal is about 6 dB lower than normal for some reason.
Okay, well, number one, I'm tired. It's obscenely tired, and boy, geez, my allergies have really kicked up. Starting Thursday night, it was just unbelievable. So maybe that has something to do with it. All right, well, maybe I'll try 2 meters again, see if he's out there, but we'll see what happens. You don't have 2 meters active.
You know, I have a HT. I could probably hear Ed on the HT. I'll have to go in the other room and check it out if you guys use the simplex frequency. I have another one that's stuck on 5.7, which is over to the other side, so we'll see. All right, yeah, try on, you might try on the 2 meter frequency. I'm going to go ahead and sign off and sign out and turn off all the controls here, but it sounds like you are both out there, so the connection can be made.
Okay, down in trouble, 73.
All right, good night, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Old Tube Radio Network.
See you, Dennis.
And of course, as always, I've got to find the control that has the switch that turns off the streaming video. It's in one of these many windows here. Okay, I think I found it. Good night, everybody. We'll catch you next time on the Old Tube Radio Network.